Hi, friends. It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020, and this is week 2 of Jesus Live, a short, simple Easter time devotion and worship experience. And I brought my whole family along today. I'm Brian.
I'm Eli.
Isaac.
Zipper.
And our dog Choo Choo is off to the side here. And we encourage, if you are with your family, your household, to come participate in this. We're not technically live, so you can play this video at any point with children, youth, with your whole household, and participate along with our singing and with our question that we're going to ask at the end. Also, if you are not with anybody else, we're glad you're here, and we'd love for you to respond in the Facebook comments. And even though we're not technically live, I hope that you will feel a part of what we're doing here. So we were going to begin with a call to worship or an Easter welcome. I'm going to say, Christ is risen, and then I invite you all to respond with Christ is risen indeed. Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. And we're going to sing, Christ the Lord is risen today.
Christ the Lord is risen today. Hallelujah. All creation joins to say, Hallelujah. Raise your joys and triumphs high. Hallelujah. Sing ye heavens and earth reply. Again, our glorious King, Alleluia. Where, O death, is now thy sting, Alleluia. Dying once, he all but saved, Alleluia. Where thy victory, O grave,
Scripture reading from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 24, beginning with verse 13. Now on that same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" He asked them, "What things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people." And skipping down to verse 27. Then beginning with Moses and all the prophets, Jesus interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures.
As they came near to the village in which they were going, he walked ahead of them as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went to stay in with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. When their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening scripture to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road, and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread.
This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. 2 disciples walking on the road from Jerusalem to Emmaus, discussing the news that was heavy on their hearts, the news that was busy on their minds. And then they were joined by a stranger. And the three of them walked on the road, and they continued the conversation. And the conversation turned to theology, and it turned to Scripture, as they discussed the events around this Jesus of Nazareth, who had been their leader, their teacher, their rabbi, and who had died. The roller coaster of events that went from hope to grief was all a part of their conversation, and they walked along together with this, what they believed to be stranger. They arrived at their house, and they invited this stranger in, and they broke bread sitting around a table like this, having a meal together. A conversation, a meal, sharing grief, sharing deep thoughts about faith, discussing, interpreting Scripture back and forth. And only after all of these things did they recognize that Jesus was with them, that Jesus had been with them on the road, that Jesus had been with them in the midst of their grief, in the midst of their conversation, in the midst of their faith and their wrestling with Scripture, and in the midst of a meal around a table. In these unique times, as we do life differently, and as for me, the lines between family and work and everything start to blur together, and the days blur together, it can be especially easy to miss moments. It can be especially easy to miss moments where God is present and real to us, where Christ is with us. So as I think about the last few weeks, and I think about moments, some things come to mind where, as I remember, I say along with these disciples, Jesus was with us, and my heart was burning. And so I look around, or I got some things around here with me. I have some dice here. Reminds me of games we've been playing around the table and online, over Zoom, and time with friends. As I look back, those were moments, special moments, and Jesus was with us. I have a spade here. A couple weekends ago, we were all at our church garden, working the ground, putting garden paper over a row. Our church garden is expanding this year because we expect there to be more need for food in our community, and so we're trying to pull together. If you're interested in working in the church garden, you're part of Centerville, part of Chesapeake community, contact Judy Spees. But I think about that special day and our time together, and Jesus was with us. Even my phone here. You know, how much time have we spent, even before this COVID crisis, how much time do we spend on our phones? And here I have my Facebook page. How much time spent time on Facebook, on Zoom, doing these videos, and all of these times connecting with others virtually online, Jesus is with us. So as you look back over the last month or so, what do you recall as a special time with family, with friends, online, anything that was a special time where you can look back and say, you know, Jesus was with me in a special way? Anybody?
Definitely when we worked at the garden.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Anything else?
Having this extra time with my family, my boys here, my husband, and my mom.
And having time with our dog, Choo-Choo.
Yeah. So what are some special moments for you that you look back over the last few weeks? Difficult weeks for many of us. But can you look back with gratitude, with a sense of reflection and appreciation, and say, with the disciples, were not our hearts burning within us? Because they recognize now that Christ was with them. May God bless you and stay safe.